Hey y'all, how's it going? I'm trading the ES futures on a 2000 tick chart with a 21 EMA. So I've got the overnight high up here and the overnight low down here. These are our key levels for the day. So starting off, I started trading right here at 8 Central Time. And so we had this downtrend break. Now when a downtrend gets a break, you can expect prices to attempt a new low. But at this point right here, when I started, it's clear that we have a up measured move in play. And so we have to account for that because measured moves do act as magnets. And so it's basically this downtrend trying to make a new low, the bears wanting to make a new low, fighting against the bulls who want this measured move, magnet to be met. And so basically right here, after we get the two-legged break, we push below the EMA and get this lower high. Now, it's not just a lower high. Another way to view this is after we form this first leg up, we push lower here, and once we start pushing higher on this second leg, it's clear where we can put the measured move. And so you can view this as we have the uptrend, break, and then we have the first attempt to reach that measured move, and the second attempt, failure. So this is a failure entry, and it's also expecting a new low for this downtrend. So, and of course, it's also just a lower high after two legs up. So there's really many reasons to like this trade right here. Kept it within the swing right there. It was kind of clear we were going sideways. EMA was getting a little bit flat. We had those, we had that right there reacting from that. The highs were fitting good. Pretty clear we were in a range structure. And so anyway, we push on down here. Of course, you get this lower, this failed second entry. If you want to view it like that, it's really just two legs down straight into the low, and then the entry is also right into the low. So there's really no good setup here for a short. But anyway, we push on lower here, continue this downtrend, and then we overshoot. And now it's clear that we're getting, on a big picture here, we have this leg down, break, we're forming a second leg down. Now, as soon as we break out of the overnight low, we immediately start trying to fade. Now, at first, we retest it here, and it might look good in hindsight because it just bounces right off of it, but this is really just a first entry, one leg up, and this is a pretty small picture, choppy lower high, so I did not like either of those entries right there. However, after we made this double bottom, it's clear we're getting two attempts to fade here. So, very typical, we break out of the overnight low, we have the first attempt to fade, second attempt to fade, and now we can look to enter on the fade failure. And so right here, when we get this lower high, closing below the EMA, of course, it's a couple bars with this lower high, but that's fine. And so we close below the EMA, it's right after two attempts to fade, we're entering on a failure. I really like this to ride to the other side of this range right here, but of course you don't want to push it past because even with these two legs up right here, you did still form a double bottom, and of course a double bottom is pretty simple. It's a bottoming pattern, very common to reverse after them, but clearly we had a good reaction from this overnight low with this larger measured move still in play. And so anyway, we continue on lower here. We push pretty far out of this range right here, and then we start correcting. We get this first entry short, second entry short. At that point, we're closing above the EMA, and then, it's just not a good-looking entry. It's, basically sideways. And so we push on up higher here. So we basically chopped around, then we got a leg up, break, second leg up, and we started pushing lower at that measured move, which kind of formed this, range. It kind of made it a little bit more clear, almost like a double top. Not quite, but it helped with this range here. But I was really tempted to enter short right here because it's almost a repeat pattern of this trade that I just took. Two attempts to fade the overnight low and then failure. Here on a bigger picture, you're clearly getting two attempts to fade the overnight high, the overnight low, except it's on a bigger picture. You didn't make that double bottom there like you did here, but it still looks very similar. And then, the way I draw the bigger stuff, it's also breaking this, like say that it had just bounced off of this green line, it would be very clear. We would just be continuing a, larger picture leg. But we did break that out, so it's pretty clear we're getting bigger picture attempts to fade there. But this trend line was pretty clear, so I ended up staying out of it, waiting on, something more confirming. And so I ended up getting this failed second entry, pushing below the EMA. It was borderline with the closing out, but the context is good, so the fact that we managed to push that low was telling me that this was a very strong measured move, and we're likely to continue with the bearish momentum, with this measured move down here in play. And so I did like this right here, but this was unfortunately just a little bit too risky because of just how clear this uptrend was blocking the entry. Notice how at first it bounced right off of it before finally pushing below and then getting this failed second entry. And so anyway, we push lower here, we bounce off this low swing. Unfortunately, there's no good entries on the way up from here. We chop around and then we get this, basically higher low closing way up here. And then, you can say first, failed second entry, first entry short, second entry short failure, closing right into the high. Absolutely no way that you can enter on that safely. And then, we get this uptrend. It's pretty clear. We basically just push straight out of it. If we could have gotten a break, a couple attempts higher, maybe we could have gotten a short off these highs again, but we don't get that here. So we attempt to move down to the other side. But it ends up just getting really choppy. Of course, there's no entries here. It just goes straight sideways before suddenly pushing higher here. And then this is where I got trapped. So basically, let me explain how I entered this. It's funny because on the website, I did a post right before. Like at first, I wasn't even going to enter on this. And I did a post. I did the noon post. And then as soon as I did the noon post, I entered. And price had already pulled back so far, and so I got in early, so I only lost 15 ticks, but I'm going to explain this trade right here. So I viewed this as we had two legs up, but the reason I did not enter at first was because, to me, it just kind of seemed, and I'll try drawing this out, it seemed like we had a wider, this shallower channel, shallower compared to that, and so it looked like we had this down move, and then this leg was within that move, which, that's not, it doesn't mean it's not a valid two legs up right there, but the point is that it just felt like it was kind of still, within this trend right here. And so my point is, it seemed like it was reversing out of it, because we broke out of it, we were clearly trying to fade the overnight high, and we actually successfully closed back in. But we did have a very strong rejection. We faded for a little bit, but then we quickly just, we dumped back out. And so, if you had entered on something short up here, there's no clear entry for it. You're clearly blocked at that trend line right there. But if you were going 1-to-1 and you had gotten a decent, you had gotten entry, decently far back, you could have gotten out. But unfortunately, even if I wanted to go for 1-to-1, I had entered after it pushed back up here. So basically what happened to me was I got filled right here, and then it just continued immediately to my stop very quickly. And so, but my plan was to go for more than that because it was two big legs retesting this overnight high, overnight low. But yeah, it was a reversal area. It did have a very strong reversal. With these, attempts to fade right here, the bearish bias is still pretty clear the whole time. At this point right here, it's pretty clear. Like, we had two major legs down. We've bottomed out and started a reversal. So I really should have considered that. And I was actually happy to see, some people did get long right here, and I was happy to see them win some trades. But, with all honesty, I don't think entering long right here is, the best idea. Because it is right into that overnight level. It was kind of a choppy area. And of course, right after these two legs. But it was reversing. But this isn't I wouldn't be too confident in this right here. Once again, with those legs, strong rejection of this overnight level. So that's why I went short there. But, I should have considered, it did look a lot similar to these, but we can clearly see that these are within some wider bearish pattern at this point. Once again, when we got this setup, we had two clear legs down, pretty clear bottoming pattern before reversing higher. So, and once again, if you got in at a decent price, you still would have gotten out at 1-to-1. But, I was a late entry anyway, so I was stopped out pretty quick. And so anyway, we continue pushing on higher here. We get this pretty choppy, second entry long. I'm not a big fan of that. If we could have faded more successfully, gotten two clear separated legs, I would have liked that. It's funny, we get that here, but then that's, way too big. And also we're going into this wider, range right here. Maybe there's some news event. Maybe that's why it's getting all wacky. But, you know, even when it's, you know, very large back and forth, you still gotta make sure you spot these structures. So yeah, unfortunately I don't like that. That's just too big. Getting a little bit sideways here anyway. But anyway, so also let me draw out that RR. You'd have to push it kind of far out anyway. But anyway, so I hope this video helped out in some way, and which actually I do want to quickly say one more thing about this. If this almost looks good, you know, like if this had set up better, like with 2 legs down, maybe hopefully the EMA could have been a little bit lower, you know, closing well above, then I would have liked it, but, you know, unfortunately we did not get that. So anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Hope it helped out in some way. You know, we might get some kind of wider channel here. We'll see how this fits. Of course, we're at the end of the day anyway, so it's not like I'm going to be seeing how this holds, but, you know, we could have something like that. But anyway, actually this time, y'all have a good day. Appreciate you watching. Hopefully this video helped out, and see you next time.